We've spent quite some time planning our landscape, pretending that this is a masterpiece, but might not even be a pretense. Looking at all the things that we need to think about, and there are an awful lot that we need to consider. So the last thing that we need to consider before we start painting is colour. So I have taken my thumbnail and I have transferred it onto a larger sheet of drawing paper. I have put in quite a lot of detail. When I come to transfer the drawing onto my watercolour paper, I'm going to lose a lot of the detail, and I will be painting the detail in after my first layer of paint on my paper. We considered during the class our temperature, our mood, our feeling for the painting. Some of us chose to change the sky in our photograph. If we're changing the sky, in other words, if we're making it a sunset rather than a blue sky, that means we need to consider the colour temperature throughout the whole painting. So we couldn't have a sunset sky but bright greens in the foreground. It just wouldn't work. So I thought I'd put together a little video on choosing your colours, just so that we can have a head start, and next week we can start our painting. So the easiest thing is to decide if your picture is warm or cool. Now that, you might say, is, well, how do we know? Well, if you look at the colour wheel, anything on that side of the colour wheel is warm. So all your reds, your oranges, your yellows, and anything on that side is towards the cool biased. So your darker greens, your blues, your blue violets, all of those are on the cool side. Alizarin crimson is a cool red. So what I did, I'm not actually thinking colours for my painting at the moment, but for the purposes of this video, I am thinking warm. So I put together a warm red, a warm yellow, a warm blue, and a warmish violety blue, okay? And then just to show you the difference, I've put together a cool selection of colours. Now, often it is easier if we choose either a warm palette or a cool palette. So in other words, if we were going to have cerulean as a blue, we wouldn't put alizarin crimson as a red, because we would have cerulean as a blue because it's cool. We could have alizarin crimson because it's a cool red. If we had cerulean as a blue, which is a cool blue, we wouldn't have a cad red because cad red is warm. So try and think about your warm and your cool colours. If in doubt, you can also always type in, is Windsor red warm or cool? And Google will very quickly tell you what the answer is. When doing a painting, it's often nice to have the bulk of your painting in one colour temperature. So in other words, all cool. So those are my cool blues, my cool greens, and my cool yellow. And I then used a complementary of that greeny colour and made it a warm complementary, because it's the opposite side of the colour wheel, so it has to be a warm. So there's my blues. Opposite is going to be a warmer colour. Opposite the cool is the warm. So I chose to go with cadmium red. Look how that stands out. So if I was doing that sort of a colour scheme, anything I wanted to stand out and become very obvious, I would paint in that red or variations thereof. So basically, it's up to you what colours you use. I would urge you to try not to just copy the colours that are in your photograph, mainly because those colours are not true colours. The camera alters colours as we see them. So by choosing your colours and keeping with them as far as the paint goes, you're going to have something that is a lot more interesting to the eye. As well as colour, we also have tone, which is the lightness or darkness of a particular colour. So keep to 3, maximum 4 colours. You do not have to have a red, yellow and a blue. You could have 2 blues and a yellow, or 2 blues and a red, and then the complementary. It's entirely up to you. But what I am going to say is, before next week, have your colour swatch done so that you know what colours you're going to use. And when you mix your yellow into your violet or your purple, know that it's going to give you a mucky brown, or maybe an interesting brown, depending on the yellow you use.